Numbersville, Great Big Family of Numbers by Zella M. Moss. Book 1, and we're on part 3. Division. One would really enjoy this part of the activities. One mother looked forward to the division because she knew that Number didn't have any idea that he would reign in the division. He was the only number that could be into all the other numbers, unlike the rest of the other numbers of the family. Before the division could ever start, one started heading toward the bedroom. Mother caught him just in time before he could drift off again. She gladly informed one that he was the only number that could be into all the other numbers of the family, and he would be the leader in division. In fact, he would be the big number on campus for once. Boy, was he glad. There's number 1 with mother. Actually, before one came into the great big family of numbers, division wasn't so much fun for the other numbers. The girls, 2, 4, 6, and 8, wasn't fond of division. And the boys, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 10, kind of liked it. Besides, no number wanted father to be upset to find out they were not participating as they should. However, all of that changed once one showed up. The other numbers were so happy for him as they watched him having a blast and really feeling big. He finally felt like he fitted into his new family. Mostly, he was no longer sad. Another one of Mr. and Miss Number's golden rules was that the great big family of Number have dinner together every evening and to share what they had learned that day, except for the weekends. The weekends were spent fishing, camping, and a lot of other activities at their lakefront cabin in Gordonsville. Surprisingly, number 1 was the first to raise his hand. He was eager to share what he had learned that day. He shared that he didn't have to be afraid to be with the other numbers, and if he could play division every day, he would. 5 and 10 learned that pushing the smaller numbers around wasn't a nice thing to do. In fact, bullying was inappropriate and unacceptable in the Numbers household. Even though father and mother was disappointed at 5 and 10's behavior, they were glad to know that they had learned a valuable lesson. Both father and mother were filled with joy to know that one was finally adjusting to his new family. And mother was happy to know that her decision to have another number turned out to be a very good one. Just as dinner was just about to be over with, numbers 10 and 5 had a very important question to ask father and mother. Although the other numbers were very tired after such a fun-filled day, they sat around the table to listen to what 10 and 5 had to ask. They wanted to know how long it would take 10 to be as big as father, who was 100, and 5 to be as big as mother, who was 50. Of course, father was thrilled to know that his boys were serious about growing up, and he went on to tell them it would take quite a few numbers for both of them to become his and mother's age. Even though father said it would take quite a few numbers, they still wanted to know. Father informed both 5 and 10 that they would have to become 10 times bigger than what they are right now. And if they would times themselves by numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, then 10 would be 100 and 5 would be 50. When they did just as father said and times himself by those numbers, it came out just as father said it would. They were now satisfied to find out just what they wanted to know. And as for number 1, He didn't want to know how long it take before he would be as big as any number because he very well knew that it would take a long, long time. Besides, he was finally satisfied with just being one. Now that dinner was over, the girls did the dishes and the boys took out the garbage before getting ready for bed. But before going to bed, Father had a great big announcement to make to his little numbers. And it was that the Numbers Fair was coming to Lionelsville, which was just a county away, the upcoming weekend, and they would be attending for the first time in 3 years. This meant that it would be number one and two's first Numbersville. Boy, one and two were filled with excitement along with other numbers. Still filled with excitement, one and two, which slept in the same room as father and mother, were the first to go to bed after saying good night to all the other numbers. The girls 4, 6, and 8 slept in the room next to father and mother. Numbers 3, 7, and 9, which slept next to the girls' room, could hardly go to sleep because they could hear girls talking about how excited they were going to the Numbers Fair. Lastly, 5 and 10 shared a room together right across from the other boys' room. 10 then reminded the other boys to say good night to all the other numbers. They were so excited that they forgot to say it. They were so excited that they forgot to say it. Then 10 and 5 said good night to the rest of the numbers. As mother made her rounds to make sure that all her little numbers were all tucked in, all the numbers shouted out at the same time, good night, father and mother, from number 1 all the way up to number 10. Good night, everyone, said father and mother, and the great big family of numbers went on to add, subtract, multiply, and divide for the rest of their days as numbers. The end. Here's dad and mom. The odd numbers, the even numbers. And here's everyone. All right. I hope you enjoyed book 1 of Numbersville, Great Big Family of Numbers. Now, I want you to stay tuned because book 2, Numbersville, Great Big Family of Numbers, Off to the Fair, we'll be going through this one next.